Welcome to Learning to Code with Scratch, the Scratch Toolbox Series brought to you by Robotics. Hey everybody, Lego Man Dan here, and welcome back to episode 3 of our Learn to Code Scratch Toolbox tutorial. Excited to have you guys here today. We're going to be getting into a little bit of how sprites work and how background works, so you can start to lay out your own presentations, okay? So already went ahead and logged into Scratch. If you have not had a chance, go back and watch the first 2 episodes. The first one is going to take you through how to use the interface. The second one is going to take you through how to create motion with your sprites to make things move. So as you're doing your presentations, you can create some interaction and have some activities or things happening on the screen for your users. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how to integrate backdrops and new sprites into your presentation. This way you can actually start to design, start to create some of your own games or presentations. So I already went ahead to Scratch. I already went ahead and clicked Create. So we are here on the coding page. Today we're going to be getting a little bit more into the costumes and backdrops versus the actual coding. But let's jump right in and get started. So when you're building a game, obviously you have 2 different things that kind of are what make up a game. I mean, there's a lot of things that make up a game, but primarily you have sprites and you have backdrops. Backdrops are things we can't interact with. They're the things that create the look of the game. When you jump from scene to scene, if you're in a village or you're in a dungeon, let's say, or you're traveling through space. These are the kind of things that allow you to create an environment that engages your game playing audience. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put some backdrops in. So obviously, again, reminder, here's where your code is over on this side of the screen. On the left side, you have your code where you set your code up and you build your code here in the code build screen. You have your emulator. And then down here in the bottom corner where you see our little sprite cat and a few other things, that's how you're going to manage the pieces that make up your game. If you remember from episode 1, there's a way to kind of minimize the emulator so you have more room here in the staging and sprite area. We're going to go right up here to this corner and it says switch to small stage. That's going to make the game emulator smaller, give us more room here so we can look at more of our sprites. If we want the details, we can go back to the bigger one, and that will allow us to kind of do what we need. Don't forget to look at your game in full screen mode. You can click there, and right now this is what our game will look like. We're going to use a lot of that today as we build our game background and we add our sprites. And to get back to that screen, we just click there, and it brings us right back. So the first thing I want to do, let's go ahead and add a simple backdrop. So again, over here is where we're going to maintain our sprites in our stage. You see here there's a little button. If I mouse over, I don't even have to click on it, just mouse over it. It says choose a backdrop. I can choose a backdrop by searching for one. I can paint one. I can ask it to give me basically a random one, or I can upload an image of my own. So if you want to do something where you have created a picture or you've gone out and got something that fits kind of what you're trying to do, you've built something in another app or designed something, you can upload that as well. We can surprise. We can paint our own right in the app, which is kind of cool, and we'll get into that in another episode, or we can search. Getting started with Scratch, I'd strongly encourage you to just use what they have. It'll give you a feel of what the app is capable of doing to build your game. So again, we go right over, mouse over, we click choose a backdrop, and it's going to take us to our backdrop screen. And you'll see it's loading up a number of different backdrops. As we scroll down, you'll see it's going to load up a whole bunch to give us an idea of where we can go. Let's go back up here at the top. We can see the ones that are loaded. And as you can see, they're kind of loading as we go. So I could scroll through. These are all of the backdrops. But let's say I kind of knew my theme was going to be music themed. And let's say I wanted a concert stage or I want a theater stage. As you're working with the app, you can scroll through to find what you're looking for based on a specific theme. Sports, for example, let's say World Cup is going on at the time of our recording. Let's say we wanted to do a soccer game. We can use that. Let's say we want to do something where we're just shooting at the goal. right? We can do that. We've got our outdoor options. So let's say we just wanted something with a nice background, green trees and a blue sky. We're doing a simple game, maybe a simple jumping game or side-scrolling game. So all these backgrounds are here for you to choose. I'm going to go ahead and select blue sky. And when I do, you'll see it goes right in there. And we got Sprite Cat kind of floating, and there's a lot of different neat things where we can create gravity and have them walk along the floor, but we'll get into that another time. But we're going to go ahead and add some stuff. Maybe you're doing a game, again, where they're going to scroll across, or maybe you just want to do a simple presentation. So we've got our backdrop loaded in. That is now part of the game. We're going to get rid of Sprite Cat because I want to introduce some new sprites. One of the most important things to remember is any code you build is based in that sprite, and we'll show you what I mean in just a second. But to get rid of Sprite Cat, we're just going to go down here. There's Sprite Cat right down there at the bottom, sort of in the center of your screen, and there's a little trash can. Click on that. We're going to tell it to delete, and there we go. And I could have scrolled down a little more so you can see that better, but I didn't. So just like the backdrops, we also have this little cat. Choose a sprite. Same for things. You can go in and design your own sprites, surprise me with a sprite, draw your own sprite, or again, you can choose a sprite. I strongly encourage you, and we will do a video on how to draw a sprite, but for now, again, I'm going to suggest using choose a sprite. There's tons of sprites in there to choose from. So let's go ahead and click. And as you can see, same thing. It loads up all my different sprites. And I have animals, peoples. That kind of all depends on what I want to do. I can have dragons. There's some that are nicely arted. There's some that are very cartoonish. It's sort of all depending on what you want. Okay. So let's say I'm going to have Gobo be one of my first sprites. Okay. And there's Gobo. And I'm going to set Gobo here. And maybe what we'll do is have Gobo talking to somebody else. So we need a second sprite. Now, before I get into picking the second sprite, you can rename these. So as you're building your sprites, you can give them names. He's called Gobo. We'll call him Gobo 1, just in case I decide to add another Gobo. Okay, where we put him on the X and Y axis is displayed here. If I don't want him to show at the start of my game, maybe he's going to appear later, I can hide him, or I can show him. I can change his size. So let's say I want him to be 250%. Now Gobo is super big. Okay. And then I can actually even change what direction he faces. So he can spin around, he can be looking up, he can be looking down. I can modify that as I'm doing stuff. Okay. That's how we add a sprite. Now what we're going to do is add a second sprite. Go in, click search. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go, where was Gobo Fantasy? I'm going to grab another Gobo. Okay, and we're going to add him. Now, as we learned in the last episode, and again, if you didn't watch episode 2 took you through how to modify sprites. I'm going to kind of do it here real quickly. First thing I want to do, set his size to 250. Because I want Gobo 1 to be the same size as Gobo 2. Okay, but Gobo, they're both facing the same way, so how in the world do they talk to each other? Let me go to costumes. Now, I'm going to have this Gobo be flipped horizontally. So you remember when we were doing modifications, we're able to flip him. But I also want to change his color. So if you look over here, I have this little palette where I can do some paintbrush work, kind of like in Microsoft Paint. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and click here because I want this Gobo to be red. So I'm going to set his color to deep red. And we'll get into the paint program another time. But basically, we're just going to change the fill. I'm going to grab the fill can, and then I'm going to go over here. And if you look, as I do it, I've got red Gobo. So I've got red Gobo talking to yellow Gobo. Okay. Now we're going to go back to our code, and now we've created two Gobos that in theory could talk to each other. Okay. So let's go to our event. And let's go back. So again, remember what I said, when you're doing a different sprite, the code is assigned to the sprite. So you have to make sure that you've clicked on the right sprite. So we're going to click Gobo 1. Then we're going to grab when this sprite clicked. And we're just going to do a simple text box. Let's see, maybe we'll have him think something. why is this gobo red? And he'll think that for 2 seconds and then it'll go away. So now when I click my little play button up here, nothing happens yet, but when I click on it, see, this little, he's thinking something, right? So now I can go over to the red gobo and I can kind of do the same thing. When this sprite clicked, go to looks, he can think, why is this gobo orange? He's kind of a lighter orange, but that'll work. So now when I go and hit my play button, and let's make it full screen just so you can kind of get a feel of it. Right? Now when I go to my full screen, I click on this gobo. Why is this gobo red? Why is this gobo orange? Okay? That lets me actually go ahead and start to create some interaction between my gobos. And I could add more stuff. I could have him say, after he thinks that, he could say, hello. Then I go back to this one, do the same thing. So now when I go full screen, hit my play button, why is this gobo red? Hello. Why is this gobo orange? Hello. And you could start to add a lot of different interaction to the game to make it so, or the presentation, to make it so you could have a whole conversation going on between two gobos, whatever they happen to be talking about. All right, so this should give you an idea of how to add sprites to your backdrop, to create a backdrop that has an environment in it. You already saw how to move stuff. We've looked at how to resize things, how to position them. In the next episode, we'll get into more how to make them interact. But this should get you, again, a good start on how to build using Scratch. Thank you for tuning in. Comment below if there's something you would like to see us add to the series. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you can keep up on our latest coding and robotics videos.